make friends with people who want the best for you. I had friends who wanted the best for me and friends who didn't. And, they were friends who, some of them were aiming up and some of them were aiming down. And if you have a friend that's aiming down and you do something that's aiming up, then they're generally not that happy about it, They try to top your accomplishment with one of their own, hypothetical or real, or put down what you're doing, or offer you a cigarette if you're trying to quit and you've kind of done that successfully, or a drink if you've been drinking too much and are trying to stop being an alcoholic, Or, they're cynical and bitter and devoted towards no good. And sometimes that's family members too. And sometimes it's even part of you, But like you have an ethical responsibility to take care of yourself, you have an ethical responsibility to surround yourself with people who have the courage and faith and wisdom to wish you well when you've done something good, and to stop you when you're doing something destructive. And if your friends aren't like that, then they're not your friends. And maintaining your friendships with them might not even be in their interest. Be careful about whom you share good news with. And in other words, be careful about whom you share bad news with. A friend is someone you can share good news with, You go to them and you say, hey, look, this good thing happened to me. And they say, look, I'm so happy that happened to you. Like, way to be. And they don't think, God damn it, why didn't that happen to me? And you didn't deserve it. Here's a bunch of reasons you're stupid and why it won't work. It's like, that's not helpful. Carl Rogers, who's a psychotherapist, he had this idea that what he would manifest towards his clients in therapy was unconditional positive regard. And I've always had trouble with that because you don't treat your children, for example, with unconditional positive regard.
You mean, so no matter what someone says, you're saying, that's a good idea?
Yeah, that's why it's tricky. Well, what he didn't articulate it, I think, as well as he might have. What you want to do is, for your child, is that you want the best for the best in them. That's what you want. And that's what you want from people that you surround yourself with. Now, they'll hold you to a high standard if that's the case, right? Because whenever you degenerate in any of the multiple ways that you're likely to degenerate, they're going to whack you on the back of the head and say, clue the hell in. You're demeaning yourself. You're less than you could be. And there's real judgment in that, and it's harsh. But with friends, it's the same thing. You want friends. They're not friends if they're not these people. You want friends who, when something good happens to you, that's good for you, right? They're happy about that. They're not all bitter and resentful underground and saying horrible things behind your back and telling you how they did something that was better and trying to drag you down. It's that's not helpful. And then when something bad happens to you and you go to them and you say, look, this terrible thing happened to me, first of all, they don't try to top it with some horrible thing that happened to them because they don't have the patience to listen. And second, they're not secretly gloating about the fact that catastrophe finally befell you. It's they're actually hurt by it. And that chapter is an injunction. It's take a look at the people that are around you. And if they're not on the side of what's good for you, then walk away. Because, well, first of all, that's best for them too. If you put up with that, all you're doing is enabling it. It's well, it's okay that you mistreat me in a way that's harmful to me and everyone else. It's actually, no, that is not okay. It's not the least bit okay. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try to help someone when they're down. That's a whole different issue.
What if it's your family? So how you say walk away, right? Do you still walk away from your family?
You do if it's necessary.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways of walking away. Sometimes someone's on an incorrigible path. Yeah. There's just nothing you can do. Maybe they're aiming down and they're bitter and everything they do is to produce misery, virtually everything. And you have to detach yourself from that. It's I always think about it from the perspective of a lifeguard. So if you're training to be a lifeguard, one of the things that you're trained to do is to approach someone who's drowning and panicking. And the way you approach them is you put your foot out between you and them and you push forward with your hands with your foot out. And you basically tell them if they're flailing about, you say, look, I'm here to help, but you have to calm down. And then if they cling to you, in panic, you push them away. You think, well, that's pretty damn cruel because what if they drown? It's yeah, what if you both drown? That's not helpful. You're there to rescue them. They take you down. You're both dead. It's fail, right? It's well, it's the same with someone in your family. It's if they're on a downward path and you've done your best, you've made your efforts, and they're not paying attention. They're not changing. They say, yeah, well, I'll quit doing this. Yeah, I'll quit doing this. They tell you the same story over and over and over. It's a downhill path. You don't trust it. At some point, first of all, you stop offering your words, if you're offering words of wisdom to someone in the genuine attempt to help and they treat that with contempt, then shut up, because you're demeaning your words by throwing them away. You think, well, how do you help someone who's aiming down? Well, sometimes you help them by walking away and saying, look, you're aiming down so hard, despite the fact you're my brother, man. It's like, this is killing me. You're aiming down so hard, I'm not coming along with you. And the reason I'm not is to tell you in no uncertain terms that what you're doing is so terrible that I will even violate our kinship to oppose it. And maybe it'll take them 10 years to wake up to that, And so that can be the case because, people often have to be hit so many times before they'll learn. You see that especially if someone's addicted or otherwise pursuing a pathway that's like seriously downhill. So why should I think that you're actually trying to change? You tell me the story that you use to justify your own idiocy to yourself. And then you tell it to me and you demand that because I'm compassionate, I accept it and therefore validate your excuse. It's really hard not to get tangled up in that, right? Because if someone who's really in rough shape is telling you about why they're suffering, first of all, they're probably about half right in their story. But some of it's justification and excuse and blaming and all of that, failure to take responsibility. It's really hard to stand up and say, no, I don't buy that. No, you're wrong about that. You have to be a brutal bastard in order to do that. But hey, sometimes like surgery is brutal, right? It's brutal. And so this chapter about, only making friends with people who want the best for you, that's a brutal chapter, but it's right, unfortunately.
Here's how you know if someone's your friend. You can tell them bad news and they'll listen. They won't tell you why, you're stupid and why that bad thing happened to you and how something worse happened to them once and, derail the whole conversation. You can actually tell them bad news and they'll listen. So that's a good thing. And then this is a weirder thing. You can tell them good news and they'll help you celebrate. And that's a really good way of deciding who you should have around you, because if you have someone around you, something good happens to you and you're kind of afraid to even admit it because, God, something good happened to you. You let that be known and it'll certainly be taken away. So, you come out and you sort of tell someone half-heartedly that something good happened to you and they give you a whack and then talk about, the great thing that happened to them 3 years ago, or worse, the great thing that happened to someone that they knew 3 years ago. It's like, go away from that person. They're not helpful to you.
You are obligated not to associate with people who are trying to damage the structure of being. Your being, the family being, social being, all of that. It's like, no, wrong, move away. And you think, well, that's cruel. It's like, it's not cruel. You're sending a message. This sort of behavior is not to be tolerated. Plus, if you make a success out of yourself, let's say that you develop your character, well, then you're a example, and at some point maybe that's what that person is going to need, is an example. Maybe they'll hit bottom and think, oh my God, I'm not on the right path. It's like, there's an example I could follow. So, and you can't justify it by compassion. And the other thing, people don't exactly understand that it's okay morally to choose people that are trying to help you be better, and to shy away from people who are going to drag you down. So you're not morally obliged to go down with someone else's ship. Now you think that's pretty harsh and pretty rude. You can't abandon a friend in need. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it is appropriate for you to look at your social surround and to make decisions. If you have a person who's hurting you and who won't quit and who's pulling you down, it's like, that is not necessary. You are not obligated to do that. You go with people that are trying to elevate you.
You got to surround yourself with people who want the best for the best part of you. You can hang around with weasels and losers that are trying to pull you down to justify the fact that they're spiraling downhill as well. And the upside of that is you don't have to have any responsibility, and you can all whine about how wretched life is, so that's pretty attractive. But I would say it's also a bad medium to long-term plan. And so it's acceptable and desirable to try to surround yourself with people who are facilitating your development.
You must discipline yourself and take full control and responsibility for the outcome or whatever it is that you are seeking at this moment. There are going to be so many different things that you will embark on. There are going to be so many different things that's going to try to slow you down. There are going to be so many different challenges that you must face. But instead of running away from the challenge, run towards the challenge. Be able to understand that life has meaning. It has reason. And all of these things that you may be thinking that is so hard on you. Just remember, sometimes you're going to have to go through these changes, these circumstances that put you in a position to make you feel that you're not worthy anymore. But make no mistake, you are worthy. You were created for something. You wasn't created for nothing. Life has a gift of giving, a gift of receiving. And whether if it's good or bad, you got to make sure you understand that these circumstances and these challenges has to happen in your life. You will come to a point that you may feel that you are in a hopeless situation. You may come to a point in your life where you're at the end of a rope and the only thing left to do is to climb up because you only can do so much for so long. But make sure you're doing much more instead of doing less. Stop stressing about the things that you cannot control and start focusing on the things that you have control of.
Everywhere I look and everywhere I see in today's society, everybody's doing everything they can to be more comfortable, right? They're looking for the more convenience. They're looking for the quicker. They're looking for the faster. And see, there's opportunity in that for those of you that want to get better. Because I'm going to tell you right now, all the great things in my life, all the great things in other high achievers' lives, all the reasons that these successful people that you look up to, that you aspire to be like, are the way they are, have all come from a place of being uncomfortable. Okay, so understand that when you're trying to avoid the pain, when you're trying to avoid the struggle, when you're trying to avoid the hard things in life, you are actively choosing to be average. You are actively choosing to be mediocre. And you are actively choosing to move further away from what you want in life. Because that hardship and that pain and that struggle and that frustration, they give you the skills that will forge you into a mother champion. All right, so remember that when you try to take the easy route. The easy route never pays well. The only route in life that pays well is the hard route, the struggle, the pain, the frustration, and the overcoming of those things. And not only do they pay, they fulfill you as well, because it shows the people around you. It shows your kids. It shows your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your community, what is possible. And there's nobility in that.
Life, how beautiful it is. How amazing it is to be able to rise up in the morning and have that sun shine on your face rather than on your grave. What makes life so unique and so beautiful? It is beautiful because whatever you have that you may be facing, what you may be dealing with, life is still good. Life has so many moving parts, but life is always good. Every day is a new day and another opportunity that others may not have. This life that you have been given, this life that you are temporarily holding on to, this life that has been just given to you for only temporary reason, has more meaning than you can ever imagine. So many people in the world take life for granted instead of realizing that you have to take the opportunity to live it the best way you know how. Now, on this journey of life, you're going to face a significant amount of circumstances, a significant amount of challenges. You're going to fall into areas that you cannot understand. And maybe it's not in a position for you to understand at that moment. When you start to feel that you are in a position that you don't love your life, then shame on you, because your life is a beautiful thing. And no one deserves to ruin it. No one deserves to control it. No one deserves to steal your joy. Your life is your life, and you have the right to live it the best way you can.
Did you ever think for a second, if I spend my whole day complaining, either vocally or in my head, about everything in my life, maybe it's just me? Let's be honest, guys. You've probably killed your fifth slice of pizza and then felt a little twinge of regret, okay? Fat doesn't melt away just because you complained about it. Muscle doesn't show up miraculously because you felt bad for yourself. If you didn't put in any of the work, what did you really expect? I mean, come on, guys. Aren't we past this kind of thinking? I'm not always in the best of moods, and things don't go right all the time. They go wrong all the time. But I've come to recognize and appreciate the opportunities I have to test myself. I've come to love the test days. So yeah, in that minute, it does suck. But I'm not going to go around crying and whining my entire career because of one day of setbacks. I recognize in the long run that these are my moments to test myself and really push myself for progress and grow. Are you the kind of person that can draw the line in the sand? Are you the kind of person who could say, this is enough? Are you the kind of person who says, I am done with that and I'm going to become what it is I know I can become? None of us were born that type of person. It's not a magic skill. It's not something that we're gifted with. It's not something that God gave us. We just understand that if we don't stick to what we say, that things aren't going to change. And we want that change more than we want that pizza, more than we want that cigarette. We want the change more than the sacrifice we're going to make.
I am obsessed with my legacy, which means I'm trying to give more than I'm taking on a daily basis. Plus, I know I'm good enough to get mine without taking from somebody else. So I'm running a marathon. My only vulnerability, my kryptonite, is being regretful in my 70s or 80s when I have less in the tank and I might say, oh, I left too much on the table. And that's something I think a lot about.
Yeah.
I think a lot about being 80, 90 and saying, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to take a little more. But I'm hopeful that doesn't transpire because I think so far I feel very confident that both are going to get theirs, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get mine and the people that interact with me are going to get theirs from me. And I think that has a lot to do with why I put out so much content. What I'm worried about is there's a lot of people listening right now and saying, okay, easy for you guys to say. And what I always tell these kids is, you don't understand. That's how we got to that place.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, easy for you, easy for you. Like, I'm just fascinated by people's lack of patience. Like, I didn't even, and I know we live in a social media world and everybody's getting all these things flashed at them, but it's crazy. I'll never forget the day I started working full-time in the liquor store. I was 22, and I remember saying to myself, literally the first day, like, I'd been working in the stores for 8 years since I was 14, but this is it. I'm done with college. I actually worked few hours when I drove home from college my last day, but the next day was the first day. It was so weird. I hated school my whole life. And that was it. Like, I walked into the liquor store and I never had to go to school again. It was like crazy. It was the best day of my life. And I'll never forget, I remember saying, okay, I'm not going to say a word for the next decade. I'm not going to talk to my friends. This is real. And I didn't. My high school and college friends are very weirded out by me. I just went in a cocoon and I just worked every minute. And I didn't even think about popping out until I was 32. Not a word, not a peep, not a party, nothing. And now I've got kids emailing me like, Gary, thank you so much. I love your videos. You inspire me when I'm super down. I almost gave up last week. Yeah, I've been doing my new business for about 4 months and I hit a real wall. I'm like, what's the matter with you? 4 months? Yep, you didn't hit a wall. You haven't even gotten out the gate. You're not even in the car. You're like still sleeping in your bed. I just really want to push patience and the long game. All this relationship talk you and I have been doing, It's all long game.
Yep.
You're either playing for life or you're playing for the few minutes ahead of you. And again, this keeps going back over and over in my mind to what other people think. Too many people right now, social media has become the place where everybody is a PR agent of themselves. You're PRing yourself. And I get it. I get people want, to hook up and to have fun. I get everything. I get it. But it is creating ungodly short-term behavior, which is not allowing people to really win the game. And by the way, that's the punchline. This is a mental game. There's just nothing else. But let me get real practical. I've been putting out a lot of for the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm starting to see the themes of what's actually working. Here's a big one. If you're not feeling it, find new friends. I'm being dead serious about this. This one is real big for me. Who you hang out with is a huge deal. And again, these are all tried and true things, right? We've heard you're the whatever of the 5 friends you spent. That's real. That one, put in the bank. If you're not feeling it, you need to go to meetup.com and go to 10 meetups of people that are hungry. It's unbelievable what happened to me when I got into the Silicon Valley world and started meeting Mark Zuckerberg and Ev Williams and Sock and Travis. It changed my life.
So we're going to talk about just recognizing our ego when it shows up, because for me, either someone else points it out to me, close to me, or I see it in myself. If you have to wait around for other people to tell you, hey, your ego's out of control, it's too late usually.
But to look at people who are better than you and know they had to have sucked at one point in time. Okay, there's somewhere along the end of this tunnel, there's got to be a light. I just got to keep going.
That's what life is. It's always going to be about business. Business is not a game. Business is business. And that's what your life is about.
If you put in the work, they can't stop you. Don't you realize that you are Don't you realize that you are special? Don't you realize you were put it for a reason? Because you were born to prosper be. Great pursue your own version of happiness that's wrapped in your capacity. Your ability to believe in a dream even. If nobody believes in you, it's two people born in the hospital every day. It's a person that's born in the hospital that's going to get a job. It's somebody born in a hospital that's going to give them a job.
So we've got to be able to see our ego when it rears its head, be aware of it, and it loses its power over us. We can go back to being our real selves, which is point one today. You can't love yourself if you're not being yourself. You can't love yourself if you're not being yourself. And when our ego shows up, in a minute, I'm going to show you some not so subtle ways egos show up, and you're going to see what I mean about maybe your ego is present. But remember this, when ego shows up, we're not ourselves. We're not connected to God. In other words, if you can let go of your ego, you can let God in. When you can let go of your ego, you can let your real confidence in. When you let go of your ego, you can go really become who you were born to be. And so oftentimes, this is so important you may be losing right now because of your ego. Because you're not feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
And that takes ego, right?
Ego, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, ego drives, you to be successful, me to be successful. Ego is what's driving you. The problem is when you let ego go too far.
Yeah.
And, everything takes balance. There's a dichotomy in everything. Every part of you has a dichotomy. You can get so into the physical aspects of things that you end up like doing a bunch of steroids and going crazy and ruining your health. Right? Yeah. That's not good.
Right.
The other end of the spectrum, you can sit around and play video games and turn into
bodybuilding is a great example of that, because when you start lifting weights, you're like, God, I'd like to be stronger.
And so let's get into some of the things that are indicative of big egos. The really obvious ones that I want you to look at when they rear their head, sometimes for you or others. But then we're going to go to the not so obvious ones, and then we'll talk about a solution. So here we go. Here are some of the signs that your ego is taking over in your life. Number one, defensiveness. It's not one you'd think of, is it? Defensiveness. You ever meet somebody who's very defensive, very reactive about whatever their situation is or whatever you're asking them about? Their ego is rearing its head. Sometimes we need to respond to criticism to get better, and when we're defensive about it, that's our ego rearing its head. So in yourself and in other people, do you see any defensiveness patterns for you? This is an ego issue. Number two thing that's ego issue is always trying to be right or prove what you're saying to be true in excess. If you ever meet somebody who's kind of going out of their way to prove what they're saying is true, this is usually their ego taking over because they know what they're saying may not be true. And this is their ego rearing its head. The second thing is the need to always win in a disagreement, the need to always win in a fight.
You start getting a little bit bigger. You're like, oh, look at that. I got a muscle. Woo, this is cool. And then you keep going, and then you keep going. But some guys get so they won't stop until they have 22-inch arms, and they want to have thighs that are so big they have to walk like they've got a barrel in between their legs. And, and they just can't help it. They just take it to some completely unhealthy place.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, well, it's just the nature of trying to get good at something. You got to recognize what's good and what is just, for some people especially, they're just experiencing way too much pressure. And that pressure, a lot of times, it's just an imbalance in perspective. And some of it's, I was talking to this mom once. Her daughter does gymnastics with my daughter, and we were talking about kids killing themselves where she used to live. She used to live in one of the really wealthy tech areas outside of San Francisco, and a bunch of kids that went to school with her daughter that were like 15, 16 were jumping off bridges and shit. Like it was like an epidemic.
You get to decide which one. I want you to take a long, hard look at the people you surround yourself with. You can't expect to become a millionaire when you're hanging out with drug addicts. You cannot expect to become the absolute highest level version of yourself if you Surround yourself with people that never want to see you do better than them. Waking up the goals that you want to achieve.
You hear people say all the time, nothing personal, it's just business. That's true. You got to bury your emotions and you got to be about your business. You got to be about the action. And if you put the action out there, then you will get a reaction. Let's just make sure that the reaction is productive and it's getting you in the position that you need to be. Action is important. Words are words. Action gets things done. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to take it to the level and beyond? Are you going to sit around and wait for someone to push you, or are you going to push yourself? Are you going to have the right attitude to drive yourself to that level and go beyond it? Or are you going to just make excuses?
They bitch about not having time. They bitch about their boss. They bitch about their husband. They bitch about their lives. They bitch about everything. Some people even follow me on Instagram and bitch about me. We bitch about everything in life, but we do nothing about it. Very few people do anything about it. I'm fat, I'm out of shape. What are you doing about it? You gotta take action in your life. You gotta stop bitching. Find a solution, don't be the problem. Take action. For every action, there's an opposite reaction. If all you do is bitch, nothing's gonna happen in your life. Take action, take control, stay hard.
Life's about improvise, adapt, and overcome to every situation that's in front of you. A lot of people hate that message that I say continue pushing, continue finding your new 100%, continue finding your best self, not making excuses.
Goals, and nobody else sees hundreds of people give up on their goals on a daily basis. And it's usually because they realized, quickly after starting their journeys, that they're alone. Nobody's waking them up in the morning. Music. Nobody's pushing them when they start to make excuses. And nobody's patting them on the back when they hit milestone. So whatever you want to achieve in life, maybe it's losing a certain amount of weight to become the best version of you.
That's all you hear about, is I am not going to do or I cannot do. That's all you hear most of the times. People are too busy putting themselves in a position where they don't want to go to the next level because it's too hard. I don't think I got it. I don't think I can do it. I'm not strong enough. Better you than me. You and me are two different people. You're not like everyone else. You're special, I'm special, we're all special, we're all unique. But you've got to put the action to work. Do something that's going to change something within your ideas and your mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. Every single day of my life, I wake up to a new idea and what I need to do with myself. But for me and for you, there are two different paths. Everybody's got to go in a certain direction.
Overcoming any and all obstacles.
Where do you start? You start right here. When do you start? You start right now. You initiate action. You go. Between the moment when you are waiting to do something that you don't want to do, and the first motion, and the moment when you initiate the action, all the interim, the whole time you are waiting to take that action, is like a phantasma or a hideous dream, is like an evil specter, an apparition, a nightmare. So the battle, the struggle, the hesitation takes place in that moment. That moment when we must step into the unknown. That moment filled with fear and horror. And that fear is what causes hesitation, and hesitation causes defeat.
Maybe it's building a business to provide financial freedom for your family and to travel the world, or maybe it's just being a better father, mother, or partner for your spouse. Whatever it is, it's all on you, and the quicker you realize that, nobody's going to come and hold your hand through life through this journey. The faster you will start to see success. Stop relying on outside sources of inspiration, motivation, and support to get you there.
life is hard. See, it's hard when you're 49 years old, been working on a job for 17 years, and they come in and tell you you're finished and give you 1 week severance pay. And you got to start all over again. It's hard when you're married and raising children and your children are crawling and your husband dies unexpectedly. It's hard handling just the tragedies of life. It's hard when you're working on something and you put everything you have in it and it doesn't work out. You lose your money and other people's money. It's hard.
The fact that many people become discouraged when they use affirmations, they listen to tapes, they read books, they do all of the things that are required of them to develop their consciousness, and things still don't happen. They affirm, I can do it, yes I can, and yes I will. I'm blessed and highly favored, and nothing happens, and they become frustrated. They become discouraged and disillusioned, and they quit.
I had like $106 in the bank, and I had to sell my dog, and things were not looking very, very good. My $40 car had just blown up, so I was taking a bus to work. I had no film history, no real film knowledge. I was just working. So often I had gone to fight films or sporting films. Yes, we're going to go out there, we're going to knock them out, you're going to win. I said, no, I'm not going to win. I'm going to get destroyed. If I can just be lucid, if I can still be standing on my feet, you know what, then life isn't so bad. And I think at the very end of our lives, if we can still say, you know, we were never humbled, we were knocked down, but we got up, and I can say, I lived life with integrity, and I took all the blows, and I still prevailed, then you feel as though you're invincible. You can take all that life has to dish out.
Life is going to happen. And you're going to set up a plan, and you're going to have a vision, and you're going to hope that it's going to turn out perfect. But what so often happens in life is that things get burned. And things go the wrong way. And it's in that moment that you're going to have to choose your reaction. You have a choice to make.
Some of you are in the darkest of darkest valleys. I don't know what you're going through, but I know what you need. Hope. And I want you to know that beautiful things can come from your broken pieces when you give your broken pieces a chance.
It is okay to be scared. It is okay to cry. But giving up is not.
There's going to come a time in your life when you reach your lowest point, where your friends are nowhere around. If you have family, they can't help you, and it seems like there's no light at the end of your tunnel. Now you're gonna feel defeated, but I'm gonna tell you right now, today, not to give up.
When you get into a tight spot and everything goes against you until it seems that you cannot hold on for a minute longer, never give up then, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn.
Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. You just got to quit tripping while you're in the process, because the process is necessary. You may not see it now, but when he gets you on the other side of it, you're going to see exactly why it went that way, and you're going to be okay with it. Pull yourself together and quit tripping, because you're in the process. God is processing you. He ain't through with you. If he was through with you, you would not wake up in the morning.
There's going to be things that go on that are out of your control. The worst thing you can do is let something that's out of your control you. Get control of yourself, get control of your emotions. Don't get angry, don't get frustrated. Instead, stay calm and figure out how to move forward.
All you do is you fall down, get back up again, fall down, get back up again, fall down, get back up again.
And it doesn't matter how you get knocked down in life, because that's going to happen. All that matters is that you got to get up.
The sun doesn't shine every day. The storms will come. There will be times when the darkness seems to consume everything.
When life seems like it's at its worst, you can't see the prosperity that is hiding right behind it. You can't look past the clouds and the storm that you're currently in. Well, you and I both know that whenever a storm is over, the sun always comes out.
But don't let it consume you. Even in the darkest times, even in the strongest storms, even when the sun is blotted out and the world is falling apart, the darkness cannot extinguish your light. No matter what is happening, no matter how hard the fight is, as long as you keep fighting, you win.
Your hardships, your challenges, your situation will either be the reason you don't make it, or it will be the story you tell when you do make it, and you get to make that choice.
Only surrender is defeat. Only quitting is the end. Fight on. It is time for you to fight harder, to dig in, to go on the warpath, to assess what the problems are and decide which one you are going to attack first. Then, attack. It will be easy. In fact, it will be hard. Life is hard. That's what life is. And these challenges that you face, they are going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them.
I don't care if you have to inch your way day by day. Even if you have to get down and it hurts and it's hard and nobody can see what you're really going through. If you don't quit, the pit will become your platform. I'm telling somebody right now, your lowest moment will be the place of your greatest testimony.
I don't care how dark it looks for you. I don't care what they done said to you. I don't care what the verdict is. I don't care what the haters say. It ain't over. No matter what happens to you, it ain't over. Ain't no such a thing as over. Do you know, man, that you can actually mess your life completely up? You can jack it all the way up, and you can turn around and get it right. Do you know that you can be divorced multiple times and still be okay? Do you understand that you cannot have a degree and still be just fine?
If you're struggling right now and you're having a hard time and you're pissed off and you're frustrated, know two things. One, you're not alone. Two, this is necessary for you to get where you want to go. And if you quit, if you falter, if you stop, all the pain will be for nothing. And you need to remember that.
When you feel like giving up, don't. When you're thinking about giving up, don't. When it look like you ain't gonna make it, keep going. When they tell you you can't, come on, man, who are they? When they tell you to put all your stuff back on your desk, don't do that, man. Don't do that. When they tell you you're not gonna make it, don't believe them, man. Don't believe them. You got to be relentless.
You're not a manager of your life. You're a creator of your life, or you wouldn't be in this room. How do you create your life? You get hungry for something, don't you? You decided there's something you wanted so bad that you unleashed all your desire. You became obsessed with it. If there's something you once envisioned and now it's real, it's because you didn't just envision it, you brought so much emotion to it that now it's in your life. It was once a dream, it was once a goal, and now it's in your life. Wherever focus goes, energy flows.
Line up those problems, confront them, face them, fight them. Do not let them win. And you keep fighting no matter what. And you never quit. You never quit.
I want to say to you, get up. Your future is brighter than your past. Get up. Your ladder is greater than your forward. I want to say to every person in this room, get up, because the best is still yet to come.